Hello again, Gooners. This is the Loose Cannon number. What is it? I don't know. Getting near 100. Not quite yet. But it's more than that number. Number 4. Fabregas. Will he ever come back to Arsenal? We hope so. But do we need him after that performance against Bayern Munich? I'd say yes, we do. Because although it was a decent-ish performance, as Graham Souness said, Bayern weren't really playing their best football. So let's not read too much into that victory. Let's enjoy it, but not. We must always guard against reading too much into any victory at Arsenal, because the problems still remain. Fabianski in goal did all right. Can't complain too much, apart from some of his kicking was wayward to say the least. Aside from that, he put on a reasonable performance. He caught the ball when required, not always in the first attempt, but he did manage to get hold of and control of the ball, and can't ask for more than that. Behind what has been a shaky defence, I thought he did pretty well. Acquitted himself well, so full marks to Fabianski. Well, not 10 out of 10, obviously wasn't that good. Not with some of the kicking that went into touch. Clearly wasn't that good, but 7 or 8, probably deserved an 8 if anything. In fact, I'm going to be that generous, I'm going to give the entire back four 8, because the one who edged it for me was Jenkinson, because one of his interceptions was so timely and so composed. There was a touch of the Franz Beckenbauer about it, and the reason I say that is because, of course, we were playing in Munich, which is the place where Franz played most of his matches. But there was something very Franz Beckenbauer about what he did at that moment in the game when I think Bayern were breaking away, and it was CJ who cleared the danger, but in a very composed way. He didn't just boot it or anything like that. So showing a lot of maturity is old CJ, and it's hard to see how Sanya can get back in the team, although get back in the team, no doubt he will. When you look at Vermaelen, though, will he get back in the team? Not based on Koscielny's performance. Koscielny had a pretty good game as well, and I've always been one of his fans, and I've said all along I wasn't too sure why we had to drop Koscielny. I know to accommodate Vermaelen, but it's too big a price to pay because Vermaelen hasn't been playing that well, and at least it seems that Wenger has recognised that fact by either dropping him or resting him for that game. Obviously, he rested Szczesny as well. I wasn't too sure about that decision. Prior to the match, I said, well, we're definitely not going to keep a clean sheet. Well, look who's got egg on their face now. Well, we didn't qualify, but I'm glad I've got egg on my face, because that's what it takes to get a win. I'll have egg on my face every day of the week. I'd literally go and get an egg and put it on my face if that's what it's going to take. So maybe I should say that. If we're going to win every game from now to the end of the season, I will crack an egg on my head for what it's worth. But that's not going to happen, is it? But we may well win more than we lose and draw. I think, I wouldn't say it's a given, but I think there's a distinct possibility we'll do that. And as I've said all along, there's a distinct possibility that we will finish above Spurs, because Spurs won't know what's hit them. If they can't get a point at Anfield, it's not an easy place to get a point, but that just shows they're not quite as good as they think they are. Not just yet. Maybe they will be next season. So that's why we have to rebuild the club, because we are beginning to get very close to our nearby neighbours in terms of ability, and that's not good enough for this club. We need to be better than Spurs, and we certainly need to be better than Chelsea, although we haven't been on a regular basis better than them. Finished higher in the league than them last season, and I predicted we'd do the same this time. I'm not so sure right now, having looked at the fixture list, but I won't go on about that because I already discussed that in the previous vlog. But so other than Szczesny being left out, and the ramifications of that being, I think Szczesny might be left out for another game, because Fabianski acquitted himself pretty well, despite having not played for how many months? More than a year, I believe. Theo, of course, set up the first goal for Giroud. I was happy for both of them. Giroud, as Jamie Redknapp said, he kind of was the focal point of our attacks, yet at times showed a lack of quality. I think that was a fair point from Jamie Redknapp. I don't always agree with him. The other things that we've had to contend with, no Jack Wilshere is going to be out until the Reading game, so we hear. Can we believe it? Is it a bum steer? Is it a smokescreen? I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if he stays out until the Reading game, which is on the 30th. No Podolski. Podolski, as I've said all along, I think is carrying an injury, so this was a game that he must have enjoyed missing in a way, because it gives him a bit of time to heal, and hopefully we will see the best of Podolski. So what were the negatives about the game? Well, Arteta's performance at times left a little bit to be desired. I thought he was pretty good generally. He was quite disciplined, but gave away silly free kicks, and at a crucial time in the match when we were 2-0 up and we really just needed to try and keep the ball in play more than anything. It didn't help the referee was breaking the game up with his... I mean, the referee certainly wanted to take centre stage, and he was booking players needlessly at times. And Arteta's dead balls weren't very good, and he was giving away silly free kicks. So the only really good dead ball we took during the match was the one for the second goal. That was a Cazorla corner, headed in, of course, by Koscielny. Quite how he scored, I don't know. He's under so much pressure. Great goal from Koscielny, good cross from Cazorla. So other than that, we didn't really create a lot. People were calling this a Pyrrhic victory, meaning that, okay, we won, but at what cost? I don't think it cost us anything. Apart from energy, that's all it's cost. And of course, it should have improved the club's morale, getting a victory at Bayern Munich. It sounds good on the CV, right? So there, that's about it, really. What else more? What else can I say about the game? The only thing I would say is Rosicky didn't exactly cover himself in glory. It wasn't terrible, but not good enough. Could say the same about Rambo, but I'm a bit of a fan of Ramsey because he works so hard for the team, but his passing at times was poor. But any worse than Rosicky? I don't think so. I saw both of them give the ball away a lot. So without further ado, let's go back in time to the time of Herbert Chapman. Moving into management from the official biography of Arsenal Football Club. Then came management, and like many managers, his career started with a massive stroke of luck. There is no evidence that Chapman had even flirted with the idea of becoming a manager. Indeed, just before he left Tottenham, he heard that Northampton were looking for a new manager and recommended his White Hart Lane teammate Walter Ball for the job. Ball agreed, and then had a change of heart that was to be immensely significant in the life of Herbert Chapman. Ball rejected the chance to manage Northampton and suggested that Chapman take the job. He agreed and became player manager in April 1907. The 2 years prior to Chapman's arrival, Northampton had finished bottom of the Southern League. Chapman's arrival was to have a big impact. The deep-thinking Yorkshireman began by introducing some revolutionary new tactics. He started by asking his wing halves, midfielders in modern parlance, to drop deeper to give his front players more space. Defenders were encouraged to pass rather than hoof their way out of trouble. He was also in the ears of the directors, asking for more hard cash to strengthen his team, and Welsh international Edwin Lloyd-Davies was one of the first to arrive. The effect was immediate, as Northampton were transformed from perennial strugglers to a respectable 8th place in the Southern League table. But Chapman was ambitious, and he wanted more, both on and off the pitch. Striker Albert Lewis arrived from Coventry, and David McCartney was signed as a midfield playmaker. And to the delight of the club and surprise of its supporters, Chapman brought the Southern League title to Northampton in 1909, with Lewis proving the judgment of his manager to be spot on as he finished the season as top scorer. It's interesting that Stammers uses the term midfield playmaker. I'm pretty sure they didn't call them midfield playmakers just after the turn of the century. But anyway, that's another story. Chapman had arrived on the managerial scene with a vengeance. He had hung up his boots that season, playing his last match against Watford early in 1909, and this allowed him more time to devote to tactics and strategies. Northampton took on Newcastle in the Charity Shield and lost 2-0, but Chapman's reputation was growing. There were to be no more titles, though they achieved top 4 finishes in the Southern League over the next 3 seasons, but Chapman was successful in putting Northampton on the national map. With their exploits in the FA Cup, mighty Sheffield Wednesday were beaten, and both Nottingham Forest and Newcastle United were taken to replays, though Northampton lost 1-0 on both occasions. These were truly heroic efforts, and Chapman's abilities did not go unnoticed. He was keen to get Northampton into the Football League, where more stern and demanding tests would be faced on a weekly basis. There was, however, no automatic promotion into the league in those days, and Chapman had to devise a way to break into the closed shop. Visionary that he was, he suggested a 2-division football alliance underneath the league with automatic promotion and relegation, but this was rejected. Chapman was left a frustrated man, but a chance to further his ambitions was to come in 1912. Leeds City, of the 2nd Division, wanted him as their manager, and Northampton did not stand in his way. So there you go, that's the latest part of the chapter on Herbert Chapman, the Visionary. I should read more next time, whenever that might be. Perhaps it will be after the next game, sometime this weekend. So let's hope for another victory. Until then, up the Gooners and away.